5, 4, 3. Hi, everybody. DUGROZ here with DUGROZ Reports, reporting live from my house. Today is Saturday, May the 18th, 2024. Welcome to Saturday Morning Live. I hope you're all doing well. Let's go ahead and get the ball rolling with our traditional first segment, DUGROZ Data Points. This is just some random data from around the world of points, miles, cash back, and credit card rewards that I think is interesting to me. So the big news drop this week was the Citi Strata Premiere. Oh, little did we know last week, Saturday at 9:30 Central Time in the morning, just blissfully moving along, assuming nothing was, going to happen other than there were some leaks about the Citi Strata Premiere. And then less than 24 hours later, just came out on the Citi website that the Citi Strata Premiere is now live. And to be a little more specific, it seems like everyone that had the Citi Premiere was just automatically converted into the Strata Premiere, which was kind of ironic because last Saturday's live stream, I was talking about my ideal end game, and Citi played prominently into that, including the Premiere card. But the good news, I suppose it's good news, depending on how you look at it, is all of the benefits of the Citi Premiere are still there for the exact same annual fee. There's no trade-off. There's nothing that we had to give up in order to get the Strata Premiere. We added the category of EV charging to match gas at 3x, and that's, I don't know, it feels like anyone that has gas should just automatically include EV charging. It should just be a coding thing, but who am I to say? And then they added some travel protections, and I did do a video on Monday. I was able to find it, took a little digging, what those travel protections were, and they're fair. They're not great, but hey, if you're going from nothing to something, that's a net win. If you had been, using points to book a flight or a hotel, and then just paying a small portion or paying the taxes and fees with a card to get travel protections, either you had an American Express card like the Platinum that afforded that, or one of the Sapphire cards from Chase, I would probably keep doing that. I don't think I would go out of my way to start putting my travel expenses on the Citi Strata Premiere. So the big question is, was it a product change that was forced on us, or was it just a revision of the Citi Premiere with a new name? It feels more like, I'm just taking my wallet out, it feels more like it was a revision than a product change. So while the launch was certainly bungled from a PR point of view, I guess I'm okay with it. I know a lot of people are like, I ordered the new card. Actually, I think the old card looks nicer, so I'm keeping my original Citi Premiere card. Yeah, my opinion is it seems more like a refreshing of an existing card than rolling out a whole new card, but that's just one guy's opinion. I wouldn't be surprised if someday it comes out that there was some sort of whoopsie with the PR people. Like some of the information started to leak and they never really got in contact with like their influencers and those kind of things, except for telling some influencers to take down the leaked information. But you think they could have been like, hey, we're excited. We're just not quite ready. Let's put out a press release saying it's coming, just not yet. And here's what you can look forward to. Instead, it was like Frank, who works in the basement of the IT building, accidentally hit the go live button at 3 a.m. on Sunday morning or something like that. Who knows? We'll probably never know for sure. Welcome aboard to all 18 of you. If you would, please click the thumbs up button. That does help the algorithm. It'll flood more people in. Feel free to put a comment over here. Today's theme is all of the credit cards that I've ever canceled. So last week I talked about my end game strategy, and that will involve some trimming of my credit card portfolio in the future. But I thought, hey, let's go back in time and talk about the ones that I've already canceled. So if you want to just support me, but you don't have anything to say right now, list what was the first or most significant credit card you've ever canceled. Jacob Hess is a DUGROZ Diehard, and he is in the chat here. He says, happy weekend, listening while driving. Cesar Joel is one of my biggest supporters, says, let's go. And Mojo also. Cesar says, I love the changes to only CSP that we can actually have in our wallets and use. And this is confusing. We now have 2 CSPs. We have Citi Strata Premiere, Chase Sapphire Preferred. But obviously, contextually, we're talking about the Citi Strata Premiere. And he mentioned 6-hour trip delay for a $95 card is great. That's true. That is great. But there's no like emergency medical. There's no accidental death and dismemberment. There's no emergency evacuation. So if you already have like one of the Chase cards or Amex Platinum or something like that, I would probably use that. But I'm totally with you, Cesar. For an average Joe who doesn't know any better, is going to use the card anyway. Definitely a big step in the right direction. So today is Ask Me Anything. You can ask me any question you want on the topic of cashback, points, miles, travel, etc. I will not be getting into political questions, but thanks for being here, Andrew Lopez. I do appreciate it. So that was number 1, the Citi Strata Premiere, DUGROZ data point number 2. Let's talk about U.S. Bank. A little bit of spring sniffles here, so excuse me while I attend to my sinuses. So, U.S. Bank, I have a card that I opened was well over a year ago. I want to say about a year and a half ago, but I don't have it right in front of me. And that card is the U.S. Bank Triple Cash Rewards Visa. This is a business card. I'm going to share my screen. There might be a brief lag here. Hang in there if there is. Here it is. The U.S. Bank Triple Cash Rewards Visa business card. Right now, this card has a $500 sign-up bonus. The rewards are in the form of cash back. It gives 3% cash back on gas and vehicle charging, office supply stores, cell phone service providers, and restaurants. Nothing unique, but a pretty good, let's say you were an actual small business needing to use a single card solution. That's pretty good. 1% on everything else. There was a 0% introductory offer at the time I got it. I did carry a balance on it at 0% for a while. That's now paid in full, so I don't need that feature anymore. And then there is a $100 credit for recurring software subscriptions, such as FreshBooks or QuickBooks. And in the terms and conditions, it says something like it needs to be online software companies or actual software companies to get that. And basically, you have to charge for 12 months, then you get that $100 credit. So I have for 2 or 3 years used a subscription service called Morning Fame. This is specific for YouTube creators. It's about $12 a month, and it's based out of the United Kingdom. It's basically an analytics company where they automatically analyze your YouTube videos, suggest topics. They can use AI to figure out like what titles should be and those kind of things, descriptions. And when I was under 1,000 subscribers, it was very helpful. Once I went over 1,000 subscribers, I'm in the 1,700 neighborhood now. It seems to be less of a big deal. I've kind of figured out what my niche is and what's popular. But I thought, hey, I'm going to get the software credit. Might as well keep it. I got 14, 15, 16 months in, still hadn't got it. I called US Bank once and complained, and they said, well, you need to allow 90 days after the 12th month to wait for the statement credit. I'm like, well, it's pretty close to that. I was like, well, technically it's a few more days. Okay, I'll give another month or two. Call back a month to get someone else, and they said, yeah, I don't know if Morning Fame qualifies for this or not. So technically the bill shows up as paddle.net, and paddle.net is basically a company that uses lots of small software companies for billing, or they provide the billing. So I said, could you research it? Could you make an exception? She said, well, I'll send a ticket to our team that makes those decisions, and then we'll mail you a letter. The weird thing is US Bank, whenever they have to make a decision, they don't send you a secure message. They send you an actual paper letter in the mail. So I have that letter now, and I'll read it to you all. Dear Douglas, We do not have the ability to control how merchants classify their business. Therefore, we reserve the right to determine which purchases qualify as software subscriptions for the statement credit. Our records indicate paddle.net classifies as digital goods. Purchases that qualify the statement credit must be classified as computer software. This means that paddle.net does not qualify towards the annual software subscription. And then some boilerplate text about we apologize for the inconvenience. You could call us at this phone number, etc. So apparently digital goods and software are two different things, and it doesn't count. That's a little bit of a bummer because since it was a British company, I was actually paying like a 2 or 3% fee for foreign transactions. But I thought, I'll make up for it with that $100 credit 10 times over because, 3% of $12 a month was like 40 cents, something along those lines. But swing and a miss, I struck out on that one. So I am not going to continue to have that charged to my business triple cash card. I had lots of cards that had no foreign transaction fee. I could have put it on. I took a risk. It did not pay off. So yeah, just FYI, they are very particular about what counts as software, and digital goods does not count as software to get that credit. Since that time, I've also opened the State Farm business card, also issued by US Bank. I think it's a slightly better card, at least for me personally. It has the same credit, and I started using Adobe for thumbnails. And since it's only like $12, $13 a month with tax, I'm going to keep that. And it's actually in like their list of approved software. So if I don't get the Adobe credit like a year from now on that card, I'll be a little disappointed. That card might come up a little later in our main event. We'll have to wait and see. Catching up with comments here. Philmo's on board, a DUGROZ diehard. Thank you for your support. Here's to hoping none of us ever need emergency evacuation. And Tariq Gaines is here. Hi, Tariq. Strata Premiere felt like a forced product change, even if it is a better card than the OG Premiere. I can't argue with that very much. It did note in the terms and conditions that if you have had a bonus for the Citi Premiere within the last, is it 48 months or 24 months? I can't remember. You're not eligible for sign-up bonus on the Strata Premiere. So they are using family-type language to box you out of that sign-up bonus if you've already had a regular Citi Premiere. So there were a few people for a while who thought maybe there would be an opportunity to get the Strata Premiere and double dip the bonus. There's not. All right, moving along in our DUGROZ data points. Number 3, Hilton has a new thing that they partner with called Autocamp. And Autocamp is rentals of like a Gulfstream trailer, Airstream trailer. Gulfstream is the airplane. Basically like a mobile home on wheels that you can stay in, but they're really fancy ones. I was skeptical when I first saw it, but I did go to their website. They have like the trailers, which are parked and hooked up to electricity and water. And they also have like a long, skinny cabin that's a little more luxurious. Hilton announced several weeks ago that they're going to be partnering with them, and you could use points with them, much like Fine Hotels and Resorts. And that is now live. Now, at this time, it's live, but only with one property. Hat tip to Matt Clausen, who mentioned this earlier in the week. This is interesting to me because, well, for 2 reasons. One is I'm something of a Hilton fanboy myself. So I do like Hiltons. I have the Hilton Surpass. My dad has the Hilton Surpass. My sister has the Hilton Surpass. So points are available for usage. And secondly, I like where city meets country type places. So I do like glamping or low-level camping. I like to be out in nature. I like low-level hiking. I like fireplaces. I like fishing. But I do want to go back to a nice, comfortable mattress with air conditioning and plumbing and climate control at the end of the day. The one location that has launched so far is in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. I did one single data point where I just simulated a booking this fall, and it came out to about 0.66 cents per point, which is pretty typical for Hilton. Nothing to get excited about. Hopefully there'll be a range times where you can get better cents per point than that. I look for 0.85 cents per point generally. And I think you can get that up around 1 cent per point, especially if you're using fifth night free. It'll still qualify for fifth night free. Don't know if I'd want to stay in a cabin or a Gulfstream for 5 straight nights, but at least it's nice to have the option. Philmo suggests I make a new idea, glamping with DUGROZ. I do have an alternate channel called DUGROZ Nostalgia. Just type in DUGROZ and the word nostalgia, and that's where I put all my content that is related to my travels or just my life or nostalgic things, other than points and miles. I mean, it'll run alongside points and miles because I use the points and miles to travel. But if you want detailed information about why I went to see the Cornerstone Monument or something like that, that's the place I'll put it, because mixing topics here on YouTube with my main channel doesn't often work. And I don't really care if that channel is not monetized. The memories of today will be the nostalgia of the future. That could be the tagline. All right. DUGROZ data points commenced. I will mention before I move on here a couple things. I have said that Jacob and Philmo are both DUGROZ diehards. What does that mean? Well, that's a channel membership. You'll notice they have a little star next to their name. You could become a channel member too for only $3 a month. No commitment. You can join anytime. Just go to any of my videos, click join. If you join during the live stream, there'll be a little celebration box that pops up, and it's kind of cool. Not only do you get early access to videos and priority comments, but I do have about 30 member-only videos that are out there right now. Those are videos that are usually either too nerdy or too sensitive for general consumption. Dave also reminds us all, make sure you signed up for double points with Hilton Honors May 2nd to September 2nd. Yes, thank you. Go into your Hilton Honors either on the app or the website, and there is double points you have to register for, even if it's things you've already booked. I am staying at a Hilton in DC this summer, and although it's all on points, I'm sure there'll be a couple times, we buy something in the snack shack and charge it to our room or something like that. So might as well get double points on those. And then who knows, there might be a one-off Hilton stay somewhere between May and September 2nd. So as I mentioned a little bit ago, today the theme is all of the credit cards that I have canceled to date. So I've got a little slideshow for us. I'll go over this, and you can tell me if you have any memories of cards that you've canceled and what it makes you think of. So I'm going to load that now. I am still operating with my Google Chromebook, which means sometimes there's a lag when I show slides. Generally, my mouth won't quite match what you're seeing on the screen, but as long as it sounds okay, I'm not real concerned about that. But if for some reason the audio quality would degrade so much you can't understand what I'm saying, or whole words are dropping out, please let me know. There will be just a moment of silence while I transition here. Loading. And yes, Cesar, some of these are going to be maybe a touch on the controversial side. But hey, controversy spurns discussion, and discussion spurns the algorithm and drives more people. I'm saving up to get an Apple MacBook. I've even selected the specific one that I want to get, which will make this streaming theme a whole lot smoother. I'm about 3/4 of the way there. So if you want to drop a super chat for a few dollars, feel free to. As you can see here, I opened my first credit card in 1997. So if you want to give me $19.97, I would take it. I would also take $1.99. Whatever. Anything is appreciated. Sylvia says, I don't know why my brain is connecting the song to All the Girls I've Loved Before with the theme of this live. I can kind of see that. Welcome aboard. All right, so the first card I ever canceled, you'll notice that there's not a logo for it, and I've called it Mystery Card. This card was opened somewhere around 1997, roughly, because that's when I left home out from under my parents' wing and was getting ready to head off to college. My mom was a school teacher for many years, and I think it was either the summer before I went to college or maybe I came home for a break or something. she decided that I needed to get a credit card. So she took me to the local teachers credit union and applied for a credit card. And you know how small credit unions often don't issue their own credit cards, but they contract with like a larger bank or credit union to do it. Similar to how US Bank issues clones of the Cash Plus card to several credit unions, and they'll call it like the First United Credit Union Power Card or something like that. It was that kind of thing. To the best of my knowledge, I didn't have any rewards at all. I had a whopping $300 credit line that I could use. And then at some point, I canceled the card. I don't remember exactly when I canceled it. It was probably before 2005, and this was well before I started in the points and miles game. My best guess is that by that point, I had already gotten a Capital One card, which I picked up in the year 2000. And probably like most normal people, I thought like, well, why do I need more than one credit card? Capital One's more prestigious than Mystery Credit Union or Mystery Bank, so I'll just cancel it. And I did. And credit cards drop off your credit file. My understanding is 10 years after it is closed. And I have looked a couple times as recently as yesterday. This one is no longer on my credit report, so I really have no way of finding it out or looking it up. Dave W. says, I have Guns N' Roses' Welcome to the Credit Card Jungle playing in my head. Don't think that's a real song, Dave, but I like the thought. Moving on. Number 2, the US Bank generic card. Now, it was not actually called the generic card, but I'm just going from memory here because I don't remember the name. It's still on my credit report, but it just says US Bank. This was a credit card that in my memory was kind of a boring, plain gray. I don't think it had the word community on it. This was just clip art that I found online last night. I don't know if it was a Mastercard or a Visa, but it was just a generic card, for people with mediocre credit that had no rewards whatsoever. I opened this card in July of 2007 and closed it in May of 2019. Now, I got into the points and miles game in April of 2019. So this is right after I got into it. Not knowing a whole lot, I probably thought something like, I have more than one US Bank card because I had this card, which was just in my name, and then I had another one with a much higher credit limit that was jointly issued to my wife and I. And I don't mean authorized user, but like it was a co-applicant card where it pulled both of our credit, and to this day still shows on both of our credit. But this one was in my name only, and I don't even remember why I opened it. There was a time in our life where we had to pay taxes, and I think I had to carry a balance for a while, even though I know that's not ideal. Obviously, that was paid off years ago, but it was probably something like that. But early in the points and miles game, I'm like, well, I don't want to have more than one US Bank card. Let's close one of them. I'm starting to open. I don't want too many credit cards. So whether I should have or not, it was closed. Doesn't really cause any harm. Number 3, and you're going to notice there's 3 in a row here, kind of in that 2019 timeframe. The Commerce Bank credit card. Now, on my credit report, it says Commerce Bank. I don't know this for sure, but I think maybe it was a Nebraska Furniture Mart card. It looked almost exactly like the graphic I found here, just looking for clip art online, except I don't remember it saying special connections, but it had the kind of this green background to it. I'm questioning whether or not it was Nebraska Furniture Mart because I know I had a Nebraska Furniture Mart card, but it felt like we opened it earlier than that. But I have this random Commerce Bank card, and when I called in to cancel it, they couldn't even tell me what it was from. I was like, is this a co-branded card? And they're like, well, we're really not sure. I mean, it wasn't a store card because I could spend on it anywhere, but it was just really weird. It was like the bank couldn't tell me any information about the card. Then again, shortly after I started the points and miles game, I called it and closed it because I didn't know where it was. I didn't know what it was. So I just canceled it. Basically, my wife and I bought some chairs and a couch when we moved into our new home, and it was like portrayed as 0% financing for 18 months or something like that. I mean, they didn't tell me it was a credit card, and I didn't know any better, but it was. And this one is now closed also. Philmo said I had a Montgomery Ward credit card in 1990 that got me 15% off a denim jacket. Whoa, way to go, Philmo. Good job. Another random funny story is, I think when my wife and I were first married, it might have even been on our honeymoon, but definitely in the first year of our marriage. It was back in 2001 or 2002. We were at Sears, and the cashier said something like, if you apply for a Sears store card today, you'll get 10 or 20 or 30% off your purchase. And we're like, yeah, let's do that. I mean, again, didn't know any better. And that card, I didn't include it in this list because it wasn't like a general card. It was a store card only. And I only kept it open for like 3 months, and then I canceled it because I just wanted to get my 20% off my jeans and t-shirts or whatever. But the thing was, she didn't speak very much English. She was probably, I'm guessing English wasn't her first language. And she had to like stand there and ask for my information, which is awkward. I mean, think about now, I would never tell someone my social security number just standing in line at a store. But anyway, I did. And my name is Douglas Roy Rose. And she put it into the system as my first name, Rose, my middle initial D, and my last name, Roy. She literally got all of it wrong. So you know how like on credit reports, it'll say aliases or also known as? To this day, from that one interaction that I had, it still says other names may include Rose D. Roy. I'm like, come on, lady. I know she was trying her best. It's not a big deal. It's actually kind of a funny story. Number 4 was the UMB Casey's card, which I think was a Visa, although all the clip art that I found was Mastercard, so maybe they switched from Visa to Mastercard at some point. I don't know. The picture on this one's a business card, but I remember it looked a lot like this. So if you don't know, Casey's is a gas station in the Midwest. And back in February of 2007, I was filling up my car with gas. There was literally an advertisement on the gas pump or on the pillar of the canopy that said, I don't remember. It was like for the first, 2 months, you get 5% back on all your gas purchases at Casey's and 2% thereafter. And I was like, whoa. 2%. And at that time, my Discover card only got 1% on everything. So I was like, yeah, I'm a baller. I'm going to get this card. And I think I actually filled out a paper application and mailed it in. That's what it was like back in 2007 a lot of the time. I mean, there was internet, but I filled out a paper application, mailed it in, got my Casey's card, and rocked my 2% back on all Casey's purchases. And then again, I got into the game in 2019 and realized, you know what? There are credit cards that give 2% cash back on everything. I don't need this card anymore. And it wasn't just 2% back like cash. It was only available as Casey's Cash. So you had to like go online every now and then, ask for redemption, and they would mail you a physical Casey's gift card for your cash back. Sylvia said, is Montgomery Ward's a department store? I believe that is correct. I remember them, but they weren't in my town growing up. Tariq Gaines says, my first card was a discount tire card, recently canceled because of inactivity. Got me 6 months of 0% financing and a $200 Visa. Not bad. All right, so those are the 3 cards that I kind of canceled in a flurry right when I got into the game. Number 5 is the U.S. Bank Flex Perks Gold Card. And this is the first card that I both obtained after I got into points and miles and canceled after I got into points and miles. This was opened in August of 2020, and I knew from the beginning that I was probably going to cancel. I was just getting it for the sign-up bonus only. If you're wondering what this card did or does, it I don't think this was in place at the time, but now 5x on hotels and car rentals in their own reward center. It gives 3 points per dollar on dining, including takeout and delivery, 2x on airlines, gas stations, EV charging, and 1x on everything else. Now, one thing that's interesting about this guy, or at least was, is this was one of only 2 credit cards that played nicely with the U.S. Bank Altitude Reserve. Most of you probably are aware that if you have the Altitude Connect or the Altitude Go, you cannot transfer the points over to your Altitude Reserve and then use the 1.5 bump up on real-time rewards. With this card, you could, and there was an actual option online. It was only a maximum of 10,000 points a year, but at least through the time I had it in August 2021, I don't know if this is still the case, because the currency that U.S. Bank used for the Altitude Reserve and this card were both called Flex Perks. Before I canceled the card, I moved the full 10,000 points online over to my Altitude Reserve, so they were, effectively worth $150 instead of $100. And then I had, I think, maybe another 12,000 or so left over. And I called US Bank and asked. I didn't know if it would work, but just as sort of a data point, I'd see someone said you might be able to get them to do it on the phone. And they said, as a one-time courtesy, I'll move those over to the Altitude Reserve for you. So I was able to load up my Altitude Reserve and get 50% more value on every single point that I earned on this card. And then I canceled it like 2 weeks later. So, yeah, I only had it for the sign-up bonus, basically. I did think to myself for a while, okay, the only thing that is better than what you can get elsewhere in a way is 3x on dining, because with the Altitude Reserve, you only get 1x on dining unless you can use tap to pay mobile wallet. It did have a $95 annual fee, and I thought to myself, is it worth keeping a $95 annual fee card for only 3x on gas, 3x on restaurants that don't take tap to pay? I'm like, probably not. There's other cards where the physical card will get you 3x on dining, and I can probably use it for at least 1.5 value, like almost any of the Chase cards, for example. So I canceled it. The other interesting feature this card had, and it was something like once a year you got a $25 airline incidental credit. So like if you bought food online or paid for checked bags, you had to call them on the phone and ask for it to be credited after the fact, which was, not enough to make it worth keeping. What's the current status of this card? I don't really know. You can find it on the US Bank website, but not like in the main section. You have to like type it in a Google browser and then it'll take you there, which makes me think it's probably grandfathered to new applicants. However, in the back of my mind, it seems like about 3 months ago, I was able to find a place kind of by accident where you could apply for it. So if any of you know, by all means, put a comment in here. Checking in on the comments, Philmo says Montgomery Ward was a department store, like a fancy Kmart. And Sylvia says 30% off is how Old Navy got me to sign up for the Barclays Old Navy Mastercard. In my defense, it was after having reached the front of a long line during a Christmas sale. My defenses were low. And Dave W. says, good morning from Vegas. Hey, hope you're having a good time in Vegas. Let's keep going. My number 6 card that I closed was the Amex Blue Business Cash, and I opened this in May of 2020 and closed it in February of 2022. Now, this might be my first card closure that's just a little bit controversial. It's going to get way more controversial, trust me, because someone's probably thinking, Doug, this is a no annual fee card. It doesn't hurt anything to keep it. This card gives you 2% cash back on everything up to $50,000. It's pretty straightforward. I actually did a video review of this a long time ago. I also did a video review of the Flex Perks Gold. If you want to dig through my old first-year embarrassing catalog, feel free to do that. But there's 2 thoughts here. One thought is Amex does have some sort of limit of how many credit cards you can have. Some people think it's 5. Some people think it's 6. And I was planning on getting the Blue Business Plus in the future anyway, which I do now have, which gives you 2 membership reward points instead of 2% cash back. So this was sort of a churning type card where I got it mainly for the sign-up bonus. I did use it for lots of things the first year just to get the 2% cash back. And I kept it roughly 2 years is what it looks like, and then closed it down. The other thing is, I value simplicity, and having lots of cards just for the sake of having it doesn't suit me well. So I think when you're trimming cards out, you got to be brutal. And this is just something I needed to get rid of. Number 7 was a Chase Ink Unlimited card. This was opened in November of 2021 and closed in January of 2023. Now you might think, here's another situation where, it's a little controversial, but it's really not. This card was a duplicate. So by the time I closed this card, I already had another Chase Ink Unlimited, and there's really no value to keeping both of them. So I closed it to make bandwidth for future applications and just to keep my portfolio nice and tidy. Hey, look, Zachary Hageland is on board and has dropped a super chat of $4.99. Thank you so much, Zachary. I really appreciate that. I'll put that into my special savings for my computer fund to help improve my technology. Thank you for being a dedicated supporter, Zachary. I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me. Juan Garcia says, my first card was the Citi Diamond Platinum Select. And Philmo says, Sledge has 207 Amex cards. I think that's about right. Moving on, number 8 was the Amex Business Green. And if you're wondering why I canceled this card, well, just ask Sledge himself and he'll tell you. This card isn't just trash. It's trash, trash, trash. This card deserves to be canceled. For a $95 annual fee, all you get is 2x on travel booked through Amex's own portal and 1x everywhere else. That's it. That's all you get. So the only reason I opened this card was for the sign-up bonus. Now, it was a terrific sign-up bonus because it wasn't that big. It was only like $40,000, but there was a targeted offer going on at the same time, and then a public offer also. The targeted offer was, the public offer was something like a regular 30, 40,000 sign-up bonus. And then on top of that, every time in the first year you spent $5,000, you got another 20,000 points. And then I was targeted with something where if you add authorized users, every time an authorized user spends $5,000, you get an additional 20,000 or maybe 25,000 points. Yeah, one was 20,000, one was 25,000. And that bonus would flow through the authorized user also. So I was using it to pay my parents' assisted living bill, which at the time had like a 2.5% fee, but it was well worth it. So like one son got a card, the other son got a card, my wife got a card, my mom got a card, my dad got a card. They were all my authorized users or employees. And every time I paid their assisted living bill, which was just a shade over $5,000, I got 45,000 points. So it was like I was able to get the regular sign-up bonus and then 5 more sign-up bonuses, like 45,000 points every time. I don't remember how much it was overall exactly, but I know with certainty it was more than 250,000 points. So even though the card is trash, it actually got me the most points I'd ever had in one sign-up bonus, so to speak. So it's definitely worth doing. But once the target offer was done, there was no reason to keep the card. Number 9, and this is probably my second most controversial closure, the Chase Amazon Prime Visa. I opened this card in May of 2019 and closed it in April of 2023. And this card doesn't have an annual fee per se if you're going to keep Amazon Prime anyway. Now, I've debated multiple times if I should keep Prime, but at the time I got it, I was still dabbling in my mattress review business and sometimes bought mattresses online. And boy, getting free shipping on a mattress makes a really big deal because if not, that's like $50 for shipping. Sometimes more. And debated closing it. We still have it to this day just because we like the videos and stuff. But anyhow, my rationale for keeping it was a couple things. One is, frankly, I rarely used it even though we shop on Amazon a lot. And the logic there is there's often better ways to get more than 5% cash back on Amazon. I have lots of cards that gave me a way of getting like 5x on gas. For a while, there was this trick with a app called Pacey and another one called PI. It was like PEI. That one's totally defunct. Pacey would give you 5% cash back up to $5 every month on Kohl's, the department store, Home Depot, Staples. And in my town, all of those are close together. So every month I would go buy an Amazon gift card. I would put it on my US Bank Altitude Reserve, tap to pay, get 4.5% cash back on the card, 5% back from Pacey, and sometimes I would get an additional 1 or 2% from PEI. So I was getting a minimum of 9.5% cash back, sometimes 11 or 12% cash back, would then load that onto Prime. There's frequently targeted offers from like Amex or Chase, like, up to the next $2,000, you can get 5x extra. So like say you're using your Blue Business Plus, you're actually getting 7x MR points on Amazon. So I calculated out over the course of a year, I was only earning anywhere from about $20 to $40 of cash back on this card. So I thought to myself, is it worth keeping this card around to get an, $20 to $40 cash back? And bear in mind, since I have, 2% everywhere cards and some that are better than that on online retail, when you factor in opportunity cost, I was only actually bringing in like $10 a year in cash back on this card. So I was like, I'm not keeping this for $10, $12 a year. It's just not worth taking a spot in my wallet. So I canceled it. You got to be brutal. You got to keep your cards trimmed down if you value simplicity. Some people don't, but I do. Filmo says, if any card in the history of cards needed a refresh, it's that trash Amex Business Green. It's just so weak. I agree with that, and I'll go back just to show a picture of it. The one possibility is Sledge kind of helped us all identify a trick with like the platinum, downgrading it to a green most of the year and just bringing it back to life from like December 15th to January 15th and paying prorated fees. If they keep this trash card around with just a $95 fee, I might try that trick next year. I'm going to get to the end of my first full year with my Amex Business Gold and just see what happens. And then I think Sledge actually had a targeted offer to upgrade and get a prorated annual fee. So it does need a refresh, but I'm also looking for ways to game the system with it. I'm thinking that through. Don't know if I'll do it or not. Sylvia says, do you worry about the impact of the number of cards you've closed on your credit score and or relationship with the bank? Closing charge cards doesn't have the same impact as closing a credit card, correct? I'm going to write that question down, Sylvia, and come back to it at the end of the main event. I hope that's okay. I always keep a little notepad with what time allows. Let's see. Impact of credit for closures. And if I forget, please remind me. Thank you so much. Number 10 was the Amex Hilton business card, and this is not what it looks like anymore, but at the time, this is what it looked like. I opened this card in February of 2021 and closed it in April of 2023. And I got this card for a couple reasons. One, I just plain wanted the sign-up bonus. I don't remember what it was, maybe 70,000 Hilton points, something like that at the time. Two, it was a business card, so it didn't impact my Chase 524 status. Three, I wanted Hilton Gold status because I knew I would be staying at a Hilton later in the year, and this comes with Hilton Gold automatically to get me free breakfast. And then, last but not least, it was okay for a spending card, but not great. I didn't spend my way to the free night certificate, which it had at the time and doesn't now. I actually was planning to dump it at the end of the first year. But I called in and they gave me a retention offer equal to the annual fee. And it was one of those retention offers where you don't even have to do anything. They just give it to you. So just for being a loyal customer, they gave me $95, which canceled out the annual fee. All I had to do was promise to keep it one more year. So I promised to keep it one more year, called back for a retention offer at the end of the year 2, no offer, and canceled it. Number 11, the Platy. The Amex Platinum. This is just the vanilla Platinum. And I will say this is a card that was in my wife's name. This was a Player 2 card, not mine personally. We opened this in March of 2021 and closed it in April of 2023. The main reason for getting it was the sign-up bonus, and I'm assuming if you're into points and miles at all, you know everything that goes along with this card. You know it's kind of like a coupon book, and you have to decide if it's worth it on an ongoing basis. To us, it was not. At the end of the first year, we called for retention offer, and we were given one. It was something like a $400 statement credit if we spent at least $3,000, something along those lines. And I was like, okay, that's enough to tip the scale to making the coupon book worthwhile. So we did that, got the retention offer, met the conditions, got the $400 statement credit, did the airline incidental credit in the form of Southwest flights that we then canceled and saved for later. Used the Saks Fifth Avenue credit. I only used the FHR credit once because it just never quite worked well for us. At the end of the second year, we were not given a retention offer, so there it goes. It was canceled. Tariq Gaines says, if anything, Amex should cancel all business green cards. Sylvia says, I was stacking those cashback card rewards like pancakes. I sure was. Number 12, and this is undoubtedly the most controversial. Feel free to come at me. I can take it. The Discover More. The Discover More is basically exactly the same as the Discover It card. The only difference was, there's literally no difference other than the name. I opened this in July 2001. So this would have been my third credit card overall. At the time I canceled it, it was my second oldest card. My oldest card is a Capital One card, which is 1 year older, that I still have. I don't really remember what it looked like. I think there was a phase where it looked kind of like this. And then I closed that less than a year ago in December of 2023. And if you say it's a cashback card, there's no harm in keeping it, you're right. If you say, oh man, look at all that credit history, why would you cancel it? You're kind of right. But if I tell you I have two other cards that were opened before 2008 and a third one that was opened in 2000, and I have a pretty thick credit portfolio, I think you'll understand I don't really need it to keep my credit up. When I canceled it, my score might have dropped 1 or 2 points and then recovered like 2 months later. So not a lot happened. Honestly, I just never used it. And I know $1,500, 5% cash back, but the math says that's $75 a quarter, even if you max it out. And if you take opportunity cost into account, there's so many other ways that you can get close. Again, this is a card that was netting me like $50 a year tops, and I just didn't want to deal with Discover for $50 a year. So I closed my Discover savings account, I closed my Discover card, and I just haven't had to look for them or do anything with them. And I don't regret it. Plus, I can always apply for a new one. If I wait long enough, I can apply for a new one and get the doubling of the cash back in the first year. So doesn't bother me. Just to let you know, there is an advertisement coming up for some people in about 11 seconds. So I'll go ahead and take our intermission at that time. And some of you will get an ad. Some of you will just stare at a blank wall, but hold tight. I'll be back in about 90 seconds. Thanks for your patience. asthma break. All right, thanks for your patience. Let's catch up on the comments here a little bit. Cesar says, Amex upgrade and downgrade play is powerful. Most mention you can get one Amex bonus per card, but don't know you have no limit on upgrade offers and can get a bonus every year and not have to wait 24 months with other issues. Yeah, let's see how that goes. I just got an offer recently on my Blue Cash Every Day to upgrade it back to a Blue Cash Preferred. It started as a Blue Cash Preferred. It was $150, and they waived the annual fee in the first year, and it was like $1,000 of spending. So basically, it's sort of like I got a sign-up bonus twice on that same card. Filmo says Discover cards are too pretty to cancel. Cesar says Discover gives me $500 in referrals every year. That's awesome. I think that would probably play a little better with your audience than mine. I could be wrong, but that's my best guess. I just thought of this while I was in the bathroom. Some people will say things like, well, Discover has really good customer service, which is true. I don't dispute that. I was always pleased with their customer service. But is customer service alone enough to make you want to keep a card? What if there was a company out there, and let's say they were a reputable company, and they launched a credit card that had no rewards of any kind, no points, no cash back, but they had two things going for them. For a no annual fee card, they had stellar customer service, like better than Amex, better than Discover. Like they always pick up on the first ring, day or night. They bend over backwards to help you out. And they had travel protections that were like equal to the Chase Sapphire Reserve or the Amex Platinum. You had emergency evacuation, medical, baggage delay, trip cancellation and delay. Let's just say for the sake of discussion, not like purchase protection. So not extended warranty, not damage protection, but all the travel protections were there. Primary rental car, but you got no rewards, and it was a no annual fee card. Would you use it? I wouldn't, because the rewards are too valuable to me. But I wouldn't fault someone that does. That's just sort of an interesting head game to think about. I need to do a poll sometimes. Actually, I'll do it right now. If you can bear with me, I think I can type a poll here. I'm not very good at this, so please bear with me. Is it here under the manage button? No, it's up here at the top. It's here. Nope, it's here. Aha, start a poll. Okay. Ask a question. Would you use a card with no rewards, amazing service, and epic travel protections? The answers are yes or no. I'm not going to allow you to have a it depends answer. There we go. Would use a card with no rewards, amazing service, and epic travel protections. Oh, and we're saying no annual fee just for the sake of discussion here. All right, moving on. Number 13 is the Chase Ink Cash card. I opened this in December of 2019 and closed it in January of 2024. This is the same as my other ink card. This was merely a duplicate. By this time, I had already had another Chase Cash, Ink Cash, and my wife had one. So we actually had 3 in our family, and I thought to myself, 2 is probably enough. So I moved some credit around to keep the majority of the credit with the other one, and then closed this guy. On the personal side, I would probably want to keep the oldest card open, even though I said it's not that big of a deal if you have an established credit history, but maybe there's a slight advantage. On the business side, since it doesn't report to personal credit unless you screw up and do something bad, it really doesn't matter whether you cancel the newer card or the older card. So I canceled the older card. I think the newer one had a 0% APR for a while, so I kept it around. Tom DeCass is here. Hi, Tom. How you doing? Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Between player 1 and 2, we have 30 to 35 cards. Didn't think much about canceling until we got north of 25, but totally see the value of cutting down. It doesn't matter much if oldest card is 2003 or 2007 if it has minimal return. Dave says, Discover has a lot of better financial products. The cards just don't seem to be changing. I do more at the banking side. I did have a high yield savings account with them once. No complaints. Oh, I will mention before I move on, one of my goals is to keep my number of issuers to a minimum. It's a personality thing. I have to check on every single card regularly just because I'm paranoid to make sure there's no unauthorized transactions. I know what the balance is, can get kind of a feel for, oh, this makes me think I'm crazy, get a feel for where my overall status is. And it's easier to like go in an Amex and check, all 4 of my Amex cards. It's easier going to Chase, toggle between business and personal and check all 6 of my Chase cards. I don't like the fact that I only have 1 card over at Barclays that I have to check. That's the Wyndham business card. I wish it would be so amazing if Citi or Amex or Chase would take Barclays business away from them for Wyndham, but it is what it is. So by closing Discover, I got 1 whole other issuer out of the system. If for some reason my wife ever had to take over my portfolio, that makes her life a little easier. That's 1 less login. I am gradually trying to get things where it's very like just maybe 5 buckets, and that's it that you have to deal with. So that's part of my goal in simplification. Number 14 is the Chase Freedom card. This was open. This is a player 2 card. This is Mrs. DUGROZ's card. Was opened in June of 2021 and then closed in January of 2024. And this is another duplicate situation. This was the original Freedom, the Visa, not the Freedom Flex. This actually started its life as a Chase Sapphire Preferred, which I referred her to. She got a sign-up bonus. At the time, I think it was 80,000 points. It might have been one of those brief periods where it was 100,000. I don't remember. But whatever it was, we got the sign-up bonus for her. We got the referral bonus for me. At the end of the first year, thought there's no point in having 2 Sapphires in our household since I had either a CSP or a CSR, one of the 2. I don't remember which one at the time. So we downgraded her Sapphire Preferred to a Freedom OG card, kept it around for about another 2 years. So you can see 2.5 years. So, and then I was like, I have a Freedom and a Freedom Flex. My wife has a Freedom, 2 Freedoms and a Freedom Flex. Probably 4 is enough. So let's cancel the one that got the least amount of use. And it was this one. Her other Freedom was slightly older by like 6 months. So we canceled the younger of the 2. Thomas Happyuk is here and is a diehard. Thank you for supporting my channel. $3 a month for being a diehard. I appreciate it. Relating to my hypothetical card in the poll, a non-rewards card that has epic customer service and epic travel productions for no annual fee. If I had it, I would use it, but I would never apply for it because of 524. Sean D, another diehard, has arrived. Says good morning to you. Sledge has arrived. Hi, Sledge. How you doing? Moving on. The 15th card that we canceled, again, this was a player 2 card, 3 in a row here, was the Amex Gold card. And I think it was 3 in a row, right? Freedom. Nope, this one was mine. That one was mine. Sorry, 2 in a row. Canceled my wife's Freedom. Canceled my wife's Gold card. Just the plain old gold, not the business gold. This was opened in November of 2021 and closed in January of 2024, which is just a little over 2 years later. 21, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and then just add like 2 months probably for when the statement posted. That's right. I remember waiting until January to cancel it so I could get my last Uber Eats credit on it and Grubhub. So yeah, pretty much all the reasons that like 87 different YouTubers have gone over why I canceled my Amex Gold. I just don't think the value above and beyond lots of 3X cards for grocery and dining is worth it. on a net basis. For some people it is, but we do a lot of our grocery shopping at Walmart. So, and you can't really do funny business with Amex. So there just wasn't a big use case there. I was sick and tired of the coupons. I think we got a retention offer at the end of the first year. I don't honestly remember. Maybe didn't even ask. But at the end of the second year, I went to cancel it. They didn't offer anything at all. So there it goes. So long, Amex Gold. Number 16 was the Amex Business Platinum, which I opened in January of 2023 and closed it just over a year later in February of 2024, making sure to get all of my credits for that second year before I did so I could double dip. And this one I got for the sign-up bonus only, and I knew from the very beginning that unless they threw a massive retention offer at me, it was going to be a one-year thing only. At the time, they had the bundle deal. It was 100, and I think it was targeted, but I'm not sure. It was 150,000 MR points for the sign-up bonus on the Business Platinum, 30,000 points if you opened a business checking account, and if you met the requirements of both of them at roughly the same time, 20,000 bonus points. So 150, 30, 20, all put together, 200,000 easy MR points. I mean, it was a decent amount of spend. It was $10,000 to spend, but I was able to do that. So collected my MR points, used as many coupons as I could, and then cut it loose. Chad Pennycuff is here, another DUGROZ diehard, and has arrived. Thank you for your support, Chad. Says, what's up, peeps? And I believe this is the final one. Hey, there was some foreshadowing earlier. The U.S. Bank Triple Cash Rewards Card, which was opened in July of 2022 and closed in May of 2024. Actually, about 3 days ago on Wednesday, I closed this. So earlier in the show, I think my second DUGROZ data point, I got rejected for my only legitimate software credit that I was going to use. So some people would criticize this because it's a business card, doesn't report to personal credit, it's a no annual fee card. And in addition to that, I actually have a fairly loyal viewer named Icarus who, when I did a community post that I was canceling this card and showed a picture of me running through the shredder, he pushed back a little bit, and I knew he would because he's all about the cashback tricks and has told me before, and it's true, that there are certain software companies where they only charge you maybe $2 or $3 a month, if that, and it triggers the software credit. So on a net basis, you're making you're getting $100 credit, you're only spending like $24 over the course of a year. So it's a net $76 for free every year. I don't fault anyone for doing that. If you like tracking those things, great. And I know you can set it up on auto pay and those kind of things. But to be honest with you, I have a philosophy, no more small fish. I just want simplification. And I don't want to manufacture some sort of advantage that's going to get me $8 a month in benefits. If it's something that I'm going to naturally buy anyway, but I'm not going to go out of my way to do it. Now, don't get me wrong. If I can manufacture 2,500, 5,000 points, that I'm willing to do. But I'm not going to keep a card around just to get $76 a year, those kind of things. Oh, hey, there's Icarus right now. So it's just, there's a sliding scale. Some people value having lots of options. I had some of the community posts said, I like having lots of options. I'm going to get all the cards. I'm going to use all the coupons. If that's how you feel, great. I'm not upset. Doesn't bother me whatsoever. On the other extreme is someone like Stan the Credit Frog who really values simplification and really thinks over a card before he opens it. And then there's everyone in between. I'm probably somewhere in the middle. I'm starting to lean more and more to the simplification side, which is why cards that don't get a lot of use or only get artificial use, I'm just cutting them out. You have to be kind of a big boy and have a big influence for me to keep you around, or be part of like a cohesive strategy. So like A Freedom Flex card all by itself isn't really a big boy, but considering Chase as a whole is, that one has earned its place. Now, if US Bank ends up having transferable currencies that you can move over to transfer partners, maybe I'll end up really regretting this, but I can always open it again in the future. So that was my most recent cancellation, and now that we've canceled things, sorry that took forever to load. Now that we've canceled things, this is what the portfolio looks like. Player 1, Player 2, business cards, all put together. There we have it. Everything has a place. Some of these certainly need to go. Let's see. We got 6 across the top, 5 up and down, so that makes a nice even 30. I really like it when you can make rectangles. I don't know why. It's just very, very appealing. So that's where things stand right now. Icarus says, my counter argument is you're paying $76 a year for closing it. It's all right. Doesn't bother me. Okay. Is all. Like I said, everyone's strategy is different, and it doesn't bother me whatsoever if someone has a different strategy than me. Let me know what you think. Where are you on the sliding scale of I want all the options to I want simplicity? Are you at the simplicity extreme, the I want all the options extreme? Or are you somewhere in the middle? Let's take a look at this poll that I opened earlier. I had asked this question. Would you use a credit card with no rewards, amazing service, and epic travel protections card? 69% say no, 31% say yes. So most people agree with me that while good customer service is nice, there has to be more to it than just good customer service. I'll leave the poll open a little longer. Filmo saw his favorite Wells Fargo Golden Pony card, favorite looking at least. And then Sylvia said, bloodbath LOL. I don't know if you saw last week's episode, Sylvia. The bloodbath is only going to continue. Hopefully YouTube doesn't censor me for saying that. I'm just talking about canceling credit cards, YouTube. That's all I'm talking about. All right. So Sylvia had asked earlier, what's the impact on my credit for card closures? In my personal case, the cards I've closed so far have had no permanent impact on my credit score whatsoever, and very little impact on short-term credit. The most it's ever caused a change is like maybe anywhere from 1 to 7 points. And it drops down for a month or 2 or 3 and then goes right back to where it was. So it really hasn't impacted me. There's a couple factors in that. Obviously, any business card that I close, as long as it's in good standing, doesn't report to my personal credit other than a hard inquiry maybe. So it doesn't impact Chase 524. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't help. So if you're not using a business card, closing it won't cause any problems with your credit score whatsoever. As it relates to the personal cards, something to consider is, like I said, I got my first credit card somewhere around 97, 98. I realized some of you probably weren't even alive at that time, so obviously didn't have credit cards in your name. So because I have a rather thorough credit card portfolio and a long history of making payments on time, those things don't impact me much. I have lots of available credit, so it doesn't impact me much. When I cancel a card, if it's prudent and I can, if I have other personal cards with the same issuer, I will move credit. So like, let's just say for the sake of example, I have both a Freedom and a Freedom Flex, which I actually do have. If I want to cancel the Freedom in the future, I will call Chase before I cancel it and say, can I move all but $1,000 of the credit limit over to the Freedom Flex and then close the Freedom so it really doesn't affect my available credit hardly at all? So even if I'm spending the same, there's very little impact on the ratio between usage and how much credit is available. I actually did that with one of my wife's cards, and I got like a really experienced customer service representative who said something like, are you planning to do this just so that you can cancel in the future? I said, yeah. She's like, I can do it and cancel it on the same phone call. Like the credit movement will happen instantaneously. All right, well, let's go for it. And then I had another one where there was some reason why I couldn't do it on the same phone call. I think, it was a card where we still had a balance, and they said we can only transfer out the maximum amount of credit if you don't have a balance on the card, something like that. So had to wait till we paid it off, which has now been done. Finding a time to call in with my wife is tricky. She's a teacher. May is not a good time to do that. So no hurry. It's like a Freedom Unlimited or something like that. I will give the caution to any of you that are newer to the game, though. I probably wouldn't cancel no annual fee cards on the personal side if you only have a low amount of overall credit limit. You know, the old example is, let's say you have 2 credit cards, they both have a $1,000 credit limit, and you average $500 of spending a month. So every time at the end of your cycles, you have $500 balance, and you have 2 buckets of $1,000 available credit. So you have $2,000 available credit. That's 25% utilization. If you cancel one of those cards just because you're not using it anymore, now you have $1,000 available credit. You're still spending $500 a month. Now you have a utilization of 50%, and that's much worse. That will harm your credit limit. So if you're in your first 2 or 3 years, I probably wouldn't cancel no annual fee cards. Likewise, if you have a very low overall credit limit, I probably wouldn't cancel any cards. I just saw a pop-up that said some people are getting an advertisement, and I apologize. I don't have any control over that. Sylvia says, I'm learning about points and miles, and it's kind of overwhelming to open so many cards. It's also kind of scary thinking about opening closing on a semi-regular basis. I'm kind of chicken right now. Well, it's your conscience or your gut instinct, Sylvia, is right on. If you're kind of new to it, once every 6 months is plenty. You don't need to be doing more than that. This is a marathon, not a race. You want to kind of wade into the shallow end of the pool. You might want to, I don't know if you've already picked up your first card or your second card. If not, maybe consider like a Freedom Flex. I did a video a week or 2 ago that if you can find it, there's an offer for 10% back on grocery for a year. And that card can be part of your strategy for a long time. And you don't need to worry about canceling cards. I've had credit for more than 20 years, and I've been in the points and miles game since 2019, which is a rookie compared to some. But I should have celebrated my 5-year anniversary. I know I'm a month behind. Let's just say it's today. Happy 5-year anniversary, DUGROZ reports to your points and miles. If I remember correctly, the very first card that I ever got once I got into points and miles was the American Express Blue Cash Preferred, which I downgraded the Blue Cash every day, and I just upgraded back the Blue Cash Preferred in honor of the 5th year anniversary. Not really. It's because they gave me that targeted offer that Cesar mentioned. But I'm going to say, oh, what a cool coincidence, 5 years and all that. My first 3 cards I got into points and miles were the one I just mentioned, Blue Cash Preferred, the Amazon Prime card, which ironically I later canceled, and then the Citi Rewards Plus card, which ended up being a little silly. It wasn't a bad pickup, but getting it that early was a little silly. There was other things. And then after I got the first 3 cards, I learned about Chase 524, and I was like, oh, wait, I got to slam on the brakes here and do my Chase stuff. Sledge asked, why leave $1,000? Just move the entire credit limit. It wasn't $1,000 necessarily. It might have been. Chase would not let me take it all the way down to 0. They said what I have to do is leave whatever the minimum allowable amount of credit is, which I think on a Freedom card is $500. So she said, I can move all but $500, but I have to leave $500 on there. Was she right? I don't know, but it wasn't worth arguing. Hey, Stan the Credit Frog has arrived. Says it's all fun and games until you end up with 10 or more monthly statement credits. Then simplicity looks a lot more appealing. I agree with that. Sledge says you won't really see an impact on closing a card until 10 years after it falls off your report. And then I already went over Sylvia's question. All right, let's go to the community tab now. And what I mean by community tab is this. So every Friday, I was a little late yesterday, I put a community tab question out, or the posts, like the still pictures you see on Facebook sometimes, and say, ask me anything in the world of points, miles, cash back, and more. And I also put a picture with it, and you can guess what the picture is. I'll go ahead and share that picture. Little lag here, I apologize. All right, so there's the picture. You're supposed to guess where it is. This is me standing on a beach. That shirt looks really familiar. Where have I seen it before? Anyhow, I did not coordinate that. So I'm wearing the same shirt today. I'm going to look real quickly here. I don't think anyone actually guessed where the picture was taken, so I can just give it away here. Making sure, yes. All right. So this picture was somewhere like 8:15 in the morning, Panama City Beach, Florida. I went there a little over a year ago, April of 2023, for my spring rip trip. The Gulf Coast, Pensacola, Panama City, Port St. Joe, Foley, Alabama, Gulf Shores, Alabama, that area. So that's where that picture was taken. On the community tab, so Icarus, also known as Feather Pony, asked me why I would cancel the triple cash and mentioned it's an automatic money maker, $76 a year. I think we already covered that, so I probably don't need to string that debate out any longer, but I do appreciate the input. Filmo78 asked this question. I just saw Iowa State is playing a football game in Dublin this year. Where are seats? I'm not sure if I'm going to go to that or not, but you're right. The Iowa State University Cyclones, that's the college football team I root for, is playing a game against Kansas State in Dublin, Ireland, not this coming fall, but in 2025. It's the first game of the season, so it would be like last week in August, somewhere around there, second to last week in August. That's like the worst time of the year for me. When you're married to a teacher, and I know there's some of you out there that appreciate this. I'm even thinking maybe Filmo, you're one of them. The worst time of year to travel is right when the school year is starting and right when the school year is ending. So that's why I try to do my rip trips in like April and October. April is after spring break, but before the end of the year craziness. October splits the difference between like end of the semester and start of the school year. So even if I went solo, I wouldn't be able to like pick the boys up from their activities and those kind of things. So I would love to go to Ireland, but I don't think I'm going to go to Ireland for that game. Interestingly, there are people online complaining because right now they are only selling travel packages where like you have to buy your plane ticket, lodging, and ticket through the university. And they're not going to release the ticket only stuff until the summer. So there you go. He clarifies, Mrs. Filmo is a teacher, but in New York, we don't start until September. I'm giving consideration, Filmo. I'm going to New Orleans on Labor Day, but when I get to like October and I'm wanting to do my rip trip, I might go to upstate New York, like the area around Albany, because that's like where my family heritage originated. I've never been there. That's where President Van Buren is buried. So maybe we can say hi. Thank you, Filmo. I appreciate that. Brock Anderson asked this question. Now, he actually asked it on a different video, but I thought it made for a great community tab question, so I carried it over. And I just hearted my own comment. That makes me look like a tool. Oh, well. Brock Anderson asked this question. Curious what your strategy was on your trip to see the solar eclipse. I noticed that you rented a car and drove instead of driving your own personal vehicle. Why did you? Thanks. Yeah, that's a good question. Is it okay to just say I wanted to? So it was just a hair over $200. I think it was like $206. And I drove from central Iowa to the St. Louis area down to southern Illinois and back. And it wasn't straight. There's a lot of zigzagging and stuff because of, needing to take country roads and those kind of things. I'm not sure how many miles it was, but probably 2,500 miles or so. So I didn't have to put the mileage on my personal vehicle. So another consideration is, and I had mentioned this in a previous live stream, like 2 weeks before that, or maybe not even, maybe like a week before that happened, my son, who is old enough to drive with a learner's permit but not on his own, was backing the car to the driveway with me in the passenger seat and did the old, like, I got the brake and the pedal mixed up thing and backed the car right into the ditch across the street from our house. And there was a no passing zone sign, which is completely useless. Nobody passes on our street anyway. It's a 2-lane residential road, semi-residential. It's kind of like right where city meets country. Maybe that's part of the reason I like it. That's part of the reason I bought the house, because there's no neighbors across the street to spy on me. But anyway, the side door hit the no passing zone side. And it was pretty steep embankment, not quite 45 degrees, but maybe like 60 degrees. No, the other way, 30 degrees. And it had rained the night before. It was super muddy. So the car slid sideways. I took the car into the shop and found out the tie rods were shot. And they said, that's something that is more wear and tear over time. But I hadn't had a chance to replace them yet. And then hitting the pole and sliding the ditch was probably the last straw. So I've got a dent in the side of my car. I can't roll the passenger side window down. I can't open the passenger side door, which admittedly I don't need to do it on my own anyway. But also the alignment was kind of wobbly. I hadn't had the tie rods replaced yet. I've had them replaced. I've had the tires rotated, and there's still something not quite right. So A, I did have to put the mileage on my own personal vehicle. B, with 2 teenage drivers that are coming up getting their own licenses, my insurance is going to skyrocket. So the last thing I need is a claim on my personal insurance. So I rented a car, used the U.S. Bank Altitude Reserve, which has primary rental coverage. And if I ran into a tree while driving to see the solar eclipse, I wouldn't even have to file with my own insurance company. I would just rely on the primary collision damage waiver. So all those things put together, saving mileage. My car was and still is wobbly. There's something going on with the alignment. I'm not sure what it is. Couldn't roll the window down. I like renting cars, not risking getting in an accident and have to file it on insurance. All those factors put together made me think, you know what? $200 for 3 days, 2 nights is not that big of a deal. I'm catching up with comments here. Chad Pinkup says, I was going to say Panama City, Florida. Oh, well, you should have said it. Just giving you a hard time. Manuel Jimenez says, good morning from Maui, and he is a diehard. Oh, that's cool, Manuel. Do you live in Hawaii or are you just visiting? I'd love to hear where you're staying if you're just visiting. Dave W. says, that was the city in Illinois that is the only one west of the Mississippi River. You're getting 2 different trips I've taken mixed up. So on that particular trip, I did not go to Kaskaskia, Illinois. So Ziegler, Illinois is where I saw the solar eclipse, and that was just a little over a month ago. Or was it it was exactly a month ago. It was April 18th, I think. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that, I drove to Southern Illinois, went to the town of Kaskaskia. And you're right, Dave, the only city west of the Mississippi River in the state of Illinois. That's because the river kind of changed course when there was an earthquake. If you ever heard of the New Madrid earthquake, it's a series of earthquakes. QC Man 2000 says, the Red Fox of Kinderhook, referencing President Martin Van Buren. I didn't realize I had so many fellow geography and history nerds here. Way to go. Icarus says, do kids really drive like that? They sure do. They make mistakes when they're 15 years old learning to drive. Dave W. says, I go way back in your channel, bro. Thank you, Dave, for being one of like the 75 people who watched that video. I appreciate it. Says, thankfully, none of you were hurt. Yeah, none of us were hurt. It was like, oh, man, I felt like we were like 3 degrees away from rolling the car over. Fortunately, we didn't. It's also a good reminder. I've been guilty of this in the past. You start driving and then you put your seatbelt on. Since he wrecked the car literally while backing out of the driveway, it's probably a better idea to put your seatbelt on, then start. Icarus says, I never did Tagat. Oh, probably never did that, meaning driving. Manuel is on vacation. Dude, let us know where you're staying. And Dave W said, ooh, gotcha. My brain is getting older. That's okay. I'm just really excited that you watched one of my least popular videos. All right. Sorry. A little nerdy side trip there. Let's continue on. Okay. In the comments, someone named Ivan Ochoa. I don't think we've met before. Ivan, thank you for putting a comment. Asked this question. Looking to add the US Bank Altitude Reserve card later this year. For the $325 credit, are you able to use it just for travel purchases only? I'm aware that the travel credit can be applied for dining purchases as well, but is there an option on the app that lets you turn that off? It wouldn't be a deal breaker for me, but curious to know if that's possible. Thanks, keep up the great work. Well, Stan or any others that are big fans of the Altitude Reserve, you know it's my sweetheart card. If you know better than I do, please speak up, but I'll tell you what my understanding is. With real-time rewards, you can pick which categories you want, but what you're describing is not real-time rewards. It is the travel credit, and that is automatic. So to the best of my knowledge, there is no way to shut off what triggers the credit, dining or travel. If you are like me and you really want to make, budgeting super important when it comes to travel, and you want to make sure the credit only goes towards travel, then you would just have to not use it for dining until after you've met the full $325. I'm actually the exact opposite. I like to use the entire credit on dining, and that way I basically pay the annual fee using my travel budget, and then my family budget reimburses me $325 because I would have eaten food anyway, as long as I'm not eating it while on a trip. Thank you, Ivan. Great question. I appreciate it. Last question comes from my brother, Cesar Joel. Let's say you can only have one card from the following issuers. Which card would you pick and why? Amex, Chase, Citi, Capital One, Wells Fargo. Basically all 5 of the transferable ones. Keep up the great work, brother. Thank you. I appreciate that. There's always, when you have these cool hypotheticals, you kind of have to make rules up in your mind, unless the person asks the question. So I'm not sure, Cesar, if you want me to assume I'm allowed to product change as my situation dictates, or if I'm not allowed to product change as the situation dictates. I'll start with the assumption that I am. So for Amex, I would start with the Hilton Surpass card because I think I get good value out of that, especially. Oh, he just said no product changes. Shoot. Okay. All right, I'm going to keep my answer the same. Thanks, Cesar. For Amex, I'm going to go with the Hilton Surpass card. I think I get enough value out of that. I can do the quarterly credits. If it's a quarter I'm not using, I can buy a gift card and get like $48.25 of value on it. I get my gold status. I earn decently well, that kind of stuff. So I would go with the Hilton Surpass card. Since apparently in this hypothetical, I'm never again allowed to get sign-up bonuses with the Big Five. With Chase, that's really hard because I would say the Freedom Flex, but then I would never be able to transfer out to transfer partners. So if I could only have one Chase card, I would get the Inc. Business Preferred, the $95 annual fee card, because holy cow, I can't remember what its categories are. I think gas is one of the 3X categories. It might be general travel is one of them also. And it allows you to transfer over to transfer partners. I would have to really be doing some gift card buying to make this strategy work. Chase is only worthwhile if you can take your gateway cards to get you to transfer partners and pair it with your no annual fee cards, like the Ink Cash, the Freedom, etc. Honestly, if I could only have one card, I probably wouldn't use Chase at all. I just don't think I'd be able to earn enough points. With Citi, I would keep the Premiere, or now the Strata Premiere, since it does have 3X on gas, grocery, dining, EV charging, general travel. It would be a good all-purpose card. I could go in and buy my Amazon gift cards at the gas station, use it that way. I get my transfer partners. I get my choice hotels, which I'm not ready to announce anything official yet, but I think I'm about to rock a pretty cool redemption through choice. Capital One, Venture X, obviously. Well, Or would I use the Saver one? So let's see. Saver one, 3x on dining and entertainment and grocery, but I already have 3x on all those things in this hypothetical through my Premiere. I would probably just use the Venture X, and that way I would have at least one card with primary rental car, and I would have a 2x everywhere card. In my real life scenario, that's not that valuable because I have another card that does everything that the Venture X does. But in this scenario, I think the Venture X would be super important. And then with Wells Fargo, probably the autograph card, not the autograph journey, but just the regular autograph. 3x on gas, 3x on dining, 3x on streaming. Is that right? And that would have my streaming card. I have a backup gas card. I could do dining. That would also transfer to Citi 1 to 2. I can assume Wells Fargo are going to add better transfer partners in the future. Don't have to pay an annual fee. Maybe the autograph journey to get the 5x on all hotels, since I don't have the option of getting like an IHG card or Hyatt card or anything. So that's what I'm thinking. Thank you, Cesar. That was actually a really fun question. That could make like a standalone video itself someday. I'm going to write that down. One card each, big 5. Thank you. I said Citi Premiere. I meant the Strata Premiere. Chad Pennycuff says Citi Strata is a great one-card setup, and I agree. I'm going to keep my regular old Citi Premiere as long as possible because I think it looks cool. What do you think? I think the Citi Strata Premiere, it's like boring, gray, wavy lines, dull, dull, dull. Must be in my wallet. I thought I'd taken it out. What is in my wallet right now? Like literally in there. Freedom Flex. Autograph. I wanted to build up those choice points. So I got the autograph going. It also is 0% right now, so I can float some money and put it in a money market and make 5%. The Amex Blue Cash Preferred I just upgraded to. That's a pretty card, although I think the Everyday is slightly prettier. Spend $1,000 on that, get my sign-up bonus. Oh, there it is. Citi Premiere is in the back part of my wallet. I think that looks nicer than the current Strata. I like the circular design. So I'm going to keep this as long as they will let me. And then my Venture X, which right now is not getting much use, but every now and then I'll run across a place when it doesn't take tap to pay and it's everything else. Cesar says, great picks. Thanks for answering my question. Cesar says, I got both designs. The new one's shinier. I can't get my cards back in here. I'll have to do that later. Did I miss anything? Oh, okay. In relation to the question that Ivan had asked, Stan says, I agree, DUGROZ. This is regarding the Altitude Reserve. With the credit, just spend it on travel and you're good. It's the easiest credit to get, even better than the CSR. I've never had a problem triggering it. Even fast food, like if I go through the Burger King drive-through and tap to pay, it triggers the dining credit. Dave W says, I missed the Wells Fargo Propel card. Yeah, it turned into the autograph card, which I don't know if there's any difference, but it looked a lot nicer. Did that also have horses running across a field? It was sort of like a purplish, almost pink card. Does that sound right? All right, checking the community tab. I think that was the last one. Let me just make 100% sure. If you added a comment after the live stream started, I may have missed it, so just put it on next week. That's it. All right. We're already over an hour, and I've got some obligations, so I'm going to wrap it up real quickly here. I just had 2 or 3 things in the time permitting I was going to mention. The first 2 are related to the health of my channel. So I've had a couple of videos come out earlier this week that did very well for my standards. I kind of think anything with more than 700 views is doing well. The pace I'm on right now will be enough to make me about $290, $294 this month. I would really love to get that pace up over $300. I've never had a month where I made $300 on YouTube before. So someone like Zachary Hageland, who dropped me $4.99, is really helpful. Once again, any money that I get is going towards my technology fund, better computer, better phone, better microphone, in that order. So I'm hoping I get $300 this month. Another ad is coming up, which will help. I don't have any way of controlling that. I apologize. Sometimes I can hit a button that says skip and it seems to work. Other times it seems to make no difference whatsoever. Dave W. says the Propel was metal, but no horses. One more pitch here for the DUGROZ Diehards. $3 a month. That's a channel member. Helps me out. And in addition to that, you get some members only video. I'm going to launch a members only video hopefully within the next week. I did the video where I sang a stupid song at the beginning about my favorite things earlier this week. I apologize. That was meant to go members only. I hadn't decided on the title. And at like 10:30 at night, I was tired and accidentally set it for public. So I was like, crud. Sorry, guys. So sorry you didn't get early access to that one, members. But there's one that's just members only coming out, thinking through a couple different options for vacation. When do Wyndham points expire? So in one of my videos, the one where I was considering canceling the Wyndham card, which I'm not planning to do that right away, but maybe somewhere down the road. In the comment section, someone says the nice thing about Wyndham points is they never expire. And there was a little debate back and forth. It was only like me and two other people about whether or not Wyndham points actually expire. I don't think anybody was upset. There was no hard feelings, just we weren't really sure. I did log into my Wyndham app just this morning. At the bottom, it says something like you have this many points, a little over 100,000, that will expire in October of 2025. And I'm like, oh, that's about 18 months from now. There's this little tiny button at the bottom that said something like, click here for more information. And I clicked it. It says, Wyndham points expire, and there's two different ways they can expire. The first way is after 18 months of inactivity, which explains why all my points expired 18 months from now. So all you have to do is earn on your Wyndham card, make a redemption portal, stay at a Wyndham, whatever, and it'll reset that 18-month calendar. And then they also have a 4-year deadline, hard and fast expiration. So this being the year 2024, if I earned points today in May of 2024 and I hadn't used those by May of 2028, they would have a hard expiration. Now, I'm assuming that Wyndham does first in, first out, so that you use your oldest points first. It would be a real jerk move if they made you use your newest points first. But I have no reason to believe that's not true. Let's see. Icarus says Wyndham points do expire and mentions, what I just went over. QC Man 2000, my good friend, the Quality Control Man, has just dropped a super chat of $1.99. Hey, that's a little closer to getting that new MacBook. I should have it within a month or two. Don't get me wrong, the setup works fine, but it would sure be nice if I could share the screen and have my mouth match what's actually coming out. That's it. We're good. I traditionally end my segment with what's on my record player. And the record that's on there right now, I think is generic enough that I can play it and YouTube won't get mad at me. So I'm gonna give it a try here, and then I'll show you what it is. Thanks for hanging in there. Here it is. Let's see if I can drop the needle on the right cut here. So this record is called that. It's got plastic on the front, which really reflects. That Fresh Feeling by George Shearing. This is big time, easy listening music. A lot of you would probably call it elevator music. It's got a lovely young lady on the cover, kind of that timeless beauty, you know. I don't know. She could be anywhere between 20 and 45. How old do you think she is? Let's see if I can find a copyright date on here. I'm going to guess like mid-60s. It says 1949 was the first year that George Shearing started recording records, but it doesn't say when this particular one came out. Sometimes the insert says it. Nope. I have no idea, so I'm going to guess mid-60s. That's everything. Hope you enjoyed that really non-threatening elevator music. And as always, may your spending be frugal and may your points be plenteous. Thanks for watching.